Okay, thank you so much. So I'm ready to take off.
Okay.
As it says, thank you so much, Camilla, for introducing me. My name is Elisha from Zimbabwe. I'm a certified information systems auditor. So I'm happy to have you all guys. My Twitter handle is there at Chitsenga. I'm always available at Twitter 24/7. Here, I'm going to talk about the mastering open source data governance, like in Percona.
Hey, Elisha, can
Our
I just stop
database.
you there for a moment? Can you, it looks like you've paused your streaming. Would you
Or it's
mind just
called.
sharing your screen again?
What about now?
We just can't see the slides. Can you just
You can
stop
see.
sharing and restart it again?
Okay.
Okay, just
What
try it
about
again.
now? What about now? Are you seeing it?
Yeah, just give it 1 second.
Are you seeing the slides?
Yeah, now I can see it. Yeah. Okay, you're good to go.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, as I said before, my name is Elisha. I'm going to talk about mastering open source data governance. I'm happy to have you guys. I'm also available on Twitter. I'm from Zimbabwe. Firstly, I'm going to introduce what data governance is all about. Like in the instances we are around the world, we have got ever-changing data environments, such as cloud and the data requirements and data maintenance that need to be considered. So with that increasing complicated, we need to look at data governance. How do we manage our data? How our data is being stored in all our database. So that's what the presentation is going to talk about. Let me take you to what data is all about. Data is all about the text, numbers, or videos, or anything which we can use. That's the data that we can feed into a system to come up with information. So after data has been made meaningful, they will become information. That's the information that we need. If it is, for example, we are in the time of Corona, COVID-19, information will be coming from each and different departments within a country or within whatever department it is. If it is in an organization, then from that information we can make up from that data we can make up the information that is crucial for the operation, especially in the open source enterprises or open source organization that we have. That's my introduction. Then data governance ensures that. So when we talk about data governance, we need to look at the stakeholders. What the stakeholders needs? The stakeholders they include if it is the directors for the company, if it is the users, they're also part of the stakeholders, the engineering team, or whoever who is interested in such data is the stakeholders. So what they need, that what we need to be taken into consideration whenever we are looking at data governance, especially in Percona databases. Then we need to look at the direction. What direction has been set for the information management capability? What direction? Direction is like the steps that we have for managing that data. Then we look at the performance and compliance of data or information as it is being monitored or evaluated. So that's what data governance is all about. So you can just take the stakeholders, what the stakeholders needs, the direction that need to be set, and also the performance and compliance. That's what comprises the data governance. Yeah, then we move on to what data governance. It reflects the practice of evaluating requirements, bringing direction, control over data and information, so that users can have access to data and can trust on. So whenever we take the data we might have at a certain time, we need to evaluate the requirement and also set the direction and control over that data, so that whoever is using it, we have the confidence that this data is valid data. So you're going to learn about the characters later in the presentation. Then we move on to, it involves data governance. It involves the monitoring performance of IT operations, specific areas that relate to data and that means we need to look at the availability, integrity, and confidentiality. That's the three most important characteristics of data governance. Availability, is that data available? How integrated is that data, and how confidential is that data? But some of the data that we might have is so sensitive, so we need to take steps to protect it. Then we move on to open sensor data governance management. This DMBOK defines data governance as the planning, execution of policies, practices, projects that require control, deliver, protect, and enhance the value of data. So that's what the data governance is all about. It's all about the planning and execution of policies, practices, the projects that require the control of data. So first we need to acquire the data, we need to control it, then we need to protect it, then we need to deliver it to that data the delivery will be like the information that the output, and also to add to enhance some, if you need to put some value to it, like value addition to such data. Because data is part of our information assets, especially in the open source industry. Then data governance is also part of data enterprise architecture, which is the part of the enterprise architecture. As you can see, it's also part key of what is important in enterprise architecture. Then you move forward to the characteristics of data. Characteristics of data, we need to look at the three sub-dimensions. Firstly, we need to look at intrinsic, how intrinsic is that data. Then we go on to contextual, then we go on to security or access. So I'm going to take you through the sub-dimensions of data governance. Firstly, information quality, that how that quality of information should be. If it is, we talk about intrinsic, we are talking about the extent to which the data is in conformance with the actual or true values. On the intrinsic factors that we need to look at, we need to look at accuracy. Is that data we are processing in our databases, is it accurate? Is it true or correct? As you know, because if you put this inaccurate data, we might have an inaccurate information, we might have inaccurate decision that comes from out of that data, that data which is passed out as information. Then you go to objectivity. Is that data unbiased, unprejudiced, or impartial? We need to look at it whenever we are going to talk about the intrinsic value of quality of data. Then we've got the deliverability. Is that data true and credible? Then we've got reputation. We need to look at the highly regarded terms, especially in terms of its source. Where did that data came from? Is it that it came from a reliable source, like someone who is instructed to come on with that? So we need to look at on the intrinsic values, the accuracy, how accurate, the objectivity, and the deliverability, and also the reputation. Then we'll go on to the contextual quality criteria. This one is the extent to which information is applicable to the task of information used presented in an intelligible and clear manner. As you can see, the presentation is what the contextual data quality criteria talks about. That information quality depends on the context of use. Here we on that, the factors that we need to look at. We need to look at relevance. How is that data relevance to the information, to the use of in the open source industry? If it is applicable or helpful, we need to look at completeness. Is that data complete, or it's missing some information? And we go on to talk about the currency. Is it that data is sufficiently up to date? Then we go on to the appropriate amount. The volume of information is appropriate to the task at hand. Is that data we can take it as of the appropriate amount of, or it is missing? Then we are continuing the quality criteria for the data in our databases. We need to look at the concise representation. Is that it compactly represented, or it has got such kind? But then we want to the consistent representation. Is it presented in the same format? So we need to look at our data standards. Are they consistent, especially when they are passing out information like in the presentation? Then we go on to the interpretability, which talk about is that data presented in an appropriate language, unit or function or definition. That's what we need to look at also. Then we go on to the understandability. Sorry for the spelling. Understandability. Is that data easily comprehended? Then lastly, we have got the ease of manipulation. Is that data is to manipulate whenever the stakeholders need to work with it? If it is the engineering team, like the design, the guys that need to look at like the system development in that process, we need to pass that data from the other guys to the other department to other department. If that data can manipulate, those guys can easily manipulate it to come up with the result they need to. Then lastly we have got the quality criteria, which talks about the security or accessibility. This one is the extent to which information is available or obtainable. On that one, we have two items. Firstly, we have got the availability, and secondly, we have restricted access. On the availability, we need to look at, is that data available when required? When we need that data, can we easily require? Like the availability, if you talk about the cloud is always there 24/7 and it's easily available. That's how our data should be like especially in terms of availability, and can it be quickly retrievable? Then we talk about the restricted access. Restricted is that data restricted to appropriate parties. We're talking about the unauthorized people. Unauthorized can get into our databases if there's no any restriction in place and manipulate that data, so that at the end of the day we might have corrupted data or some problem. Then we go on to the data lifecycle. What is involved in when data is coming from its origination to the end? So here we are going to have the data lifecycle, like the stages that data goes through in the course of its existence, in an organization or in any. But this data governance applies to all the organization around the world. Here is the data life cycle. As we can see, we start with data planning. We need to plan our data. How our data are we going to use it, and how are we going to acquire it? Like the creation, acquisition, and use in the planning stage. Then we go on to the design stage. In the design stage, we are going to specify how information will look and how system processing information will work. So firstly, we need to plan. Secondly, we need to design. Thirdly, we need to build or acquire. Like the information resource is acquired. Into how are we going to build or acquire that data? Then we go on to use or operate. On that one, we have got three factors we need to look at during the use or data operation. Firstly, we need to look at the store. How are we going to store the data? Secondly, we look at the sharing. How are we going to share the data? Are we going to make it available to the public? Are we going to leave it to certain people? And thirdly, we're going to use. Who is going to use that data? That's the use or operate in the data lifecycle. Then we go on to the monitor. We need to keep on monitoring, like information resource continues to work properly. Is that we need to monitor, put steps and some strong controls how that data is being used. That's in the data life cycle. Then lastly, we've got to look at the dispose, like information resource is transferred or retained for a defined period. If you are going to use that data for 10 years, how are we going to dispose it after 10 years or retain it in the system? We might retain that data or we need to destroy it. We're going to learn in the next slides. Then that one we are going to talk about the end, how we are going to handle that data or archive it. If it is not sensitive data, we can archive it. But there are guidelines which need to be followed, especially in each and every region. If it is in Europe, there are some guidelines which restrict the data disposal, and also in US, there's also even here Africa we have. So we need to look on how the data is going to be disposed. So this is our life cycle. Then we are going to take the data life cycle summary. Here's the data life cycle summary. The activities that involved in each of the stages of the life cycle I've talked about. Firstly, we've got the design. In the design stage, we need to activity that happen in that stage. It's like in the design, we need to look at the definition, data definition. How we are going to develop our data, like data definition, data collection, access, storage, like the metadata characteristics or data classification. We need to look at it whenever we are going to design our data, especially when we even started the process. Then we go on to build or acquire. The activities that involved in that refers to the creation of data, purchase of data, or loading of external files. After acquiring the data, if we acquired from third part or our data providers, we need to, how are we going to purchase the data and load it into the external files. That's the activity that's involved in that stage. Then you go on to the use or operate. That one we have got three, as I said. Firstly, we need to look at the store. How are we going to store the information? It's either electronic or hard copy. As you know, data can be stored in electronic, like the in the SSD hard drives or in our data warehouses, or as a hard copy, like paper document. They also, if it is electronic or hard copy, they also constitute the data that we need to work on. Then we go on to share. How are we going to share that data to let it to the places where it's going to be used? Because data, if you are sharing it, we don't mind if you are sharing someone for some people in Japan or some people in South Africa or some people in Brazil. So that's how we're going to, we need to look how we're going to share that data. Then we are continuing the use or operate the data. On that one, how are we going to use that data? Information usage activities like information retrieval and converting from one form to another. We need to look into what's happening with that information. If we are going to retrieve it from our databases and we are going to convert it into one form to another, that's what is being involved in that data life cycle. Then you go on to monitoring. We need to keeping information up to date. We need to keep it up to date, like updating information each and every time, and other kind of information management activities that involve enhancing. We need to keep on cleansing. We can even merge with some new information from the other data providers, or remove some duplicate information, especially in the data warehouse. So we need to, this one is the important step, just because we need to keep it monitored, just because we don't need to keep obsolete that data or data which we don't use often. Then we go on to dispose. In the dispose process, the activities in this phase may refer to the information retention, archiving, or destroying the information. After we have used all the information, we might decide to archive or retain it or to destroy it. It depends how sensitive that information, how useful that information. If it became obsolete, so we don't need to keep it anymore. So that's the data life cycle that is involved. I think I'm done with my presentation, and I have some anonymous person that come to me during the preparation of this presentation, like someone might ask, how can we ensure that data captured and match the required standards? And also the second one, who is responsible for ensuring configuration of open source data application database management are in line with expected objectives? And I think I'm done. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much. Siawonga Tatenda.